Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous male left behind and forward moving spouse. His bomb drop was May 9th of 2019 and his date of marriage is 1992. He has an off and on who is a high energy replayer. He says, I'm at a real low this morning. My daughter, who's 18, has believed everything that my ex-wife has fed her. She's brainwashed her to rewrite our history. So it sounds like your ex-wife brainwashed your daughter to rewrite the history you have with your daughter. I will message you the two texts between her and myself. And I haven't looked to see if I've got that yet. So I may come back to this later. We'll just see. It might be good research for you. My question, though, is brainwashing a child typical? Will they ever see the truth? Will the MLCer even feel remorse for the damaged relationship? So let's think about the brainwashing. What I'm going to say about the brainwashing is it's not necessarily intentional or deliberate. They aren't mapping out, I am going to alienate my daughter against my ex-husband, her father. And I am going to do this because I want her to love me more than him. They don't go out at it about that. They go at it with, I'm going to give her my version of the truth. And there is often a conscious or subconscious, depending on the person, level where they know that's not really the truth. They know they're spinning it. They are feeling badly about themselves and they need that child to boost them up. If I need that person in my life, I want them on my side. Not because it's going to hurt you, but the payoff for me, the MLCer, is I have somebody believing in me or believing my pain, who's validating the pain I am in and sympathizing with me. They're allowing me to be a victim. And they can poor baby me. It's not uncommon. It's brainwashing or alienation of affection. And I would think that it's probably harder to deal with when it is an MLCer who is female, like your wife, and a male. Children are probably more likely to go and side with the mom. I see a lot of it where they don't, and they get it. But just mom being the standard nurturer and caregiver. And think about in custody battles, even though your daughter is practically an adult at 18. In custody battles, mom typically gets the kids. I see a lot of it in MLC ones where they don't. Oftentimes they don't try to get the kids. But just in general, it is probably more common alienation of affection or brainwashing, as you're saying, where it is against the father rather than the mother. And I'm sorry, it's not happening to everybody, but it is not uncommon at all. We all want people to believe in us. We want them to justify why we are acting as we are. And so she's trying to get your daughter to understand why she's doing this. Why, in other words, she is justified. And she's justifying it by demonizing you. And there's probably some gaslighting going on, and your daughter is susceptible enough and scared enough to believe in it. And one of the things about these things is there's kernels of truth. They might be positive or negative truth, but they spin it to make it a negative. And so she can tell your daughter just a little bit of truth, and it doesn't mean it's even something that was negative. But remember how he did this? Well, if he did this, then this expanded version of that, whatever it was. Sorry, I don't have an example. So she puts it in a foundation that she already can have your daughter believing her at the beginning. And then she builds a house of cards on a foundation of something that's real. Yeah, it's not uncommon. I'm sorry she's doing it. Will they ever see the truth? Usually, I think that the children eventually will, but I can't make you a guarantee. And you have to let them come to that. If you fight it If you try to defend yourself, that just adds fuel to the other side. It works against you. You be calm instead of angry. You approach with grace and maturity. You do the, I'm sorry you feel that way. And you do it with this empathetic voice. Sure, you can be angry, but you don't do it with there's a difference between an empathetic voice and a voice of, oh, I don't believe in me. One, some people don't think it's strong because you're not being forceful, but the empathetic voice is not the pouty voice. It's not the voice of the martyr. And be really careful with those two things, the empathy versus, because both of them are softer rather than booming and aggressive and assertive. They're both a little bit soft, and they're still very different. You want her to see you as always being compassionate and grace, filled with grace. And so you're going to root everything you do with empathy. And you're going to build on that and build on that and build on that with no expectations for each little bit. And it's just going to pile up and up and up and up. And it gets to a certain level and it becomes noticeable. Now, but it's barely noticeable because it's just a tiny sprout poking out of the ground. And let it grow and let it grow and let it grow. You keep doing it even when she's not noticing until she does. And you have faith in it. And you have faith in her. As for remorse, it depends on, and I'm looking at remorse in your MLCer. It depends on her levels of narcissism, or I often see borderline for females. But let's just look at it. The levels of pathology that she had prior to MLC. If she had high levels of, say, borderline or narcissism before her midlife crisis, then she might have a lower tolerance for feeling remorse. If not, she can come through this. Yeah. But it's not for any of us to create. We just have to sit there and absolutely be grace. And it is hard. It's hard to, when you feel like you're being punished or life is unfair to you, to continue to be grace. But to be anything but, to be angry, we're giving in to the negatives. We're giving in to their anger. We're giving in to the hatred and the demonization. And we're starting to become what we've already been accused of becoming. And then, well, see, I told you he was that way. Even though they created the monster that you became. Don't let them create the monster that they have already accused you of being. Simply be grace. That doesn't mean you don't have boundaries and you aren't firm, but you're always loving with them. And yeah, it's a tightrope act. Okay. I am so sorry that you are have been losing your daughter in this as well. You're not alone. You're not alone in that loss. I hope that you can go to the forums or the forums or the Facebook group. You can find others who are out there and feeling that alienation, and find those who have come back from it as well and found a way around it. We can grow bigger and better and heal with community. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I'll see everybody else in the next question.